One-shots, adventures, campaigns. What is best for you? So I best have to describe what is what because I've seen a lot of people using different terminologies out there. And I've been playing this game for a while now, and I think I got how we should be redressing these things because it's how I've been talking about them for the last 20 years or so. So what is a one-shot? A one-shot is a session where the game master and players all come together and wrap it up in that event. These usually length in paper, anything from a few bullet points to a few pages, and usually last 2 to 5 hours, but on average I'd say about 3-ish would be round about what most people are playing. So what these games require is both a disciplined game master and players to be successful, because players will need to understand there is a time limit on what we're doing here today. And if you want to speak to a merchant for 30 minutes, it may mean we don't get to fight those 4 wolves on the path to the big bad guy's place. Players, you especially need to design your characters to accept the game and the premise of forming the group to start the adventure. Fiddling around for 20 minutes to half an hour to convince you to go on an adventure is not to be done. You need to make a character that is going to accept this and get started, or otherwise we're wasting precious, valuable time of gaming. You may not get to do everything that you want to do in the game, as the game needs to progress. So if you want to sit there talking about a ballad that you wrote or a friend that you lost and why you're adventuring, you may not get that time. You are here to do something and get it done. Make sure you understand if people are cutting you short, it's because we need to progress the story. You also get to try out character concepts, builds that there's no problem of breaking anything. It also gives you a break from what you've been regularly playing potentially. So this is now your time to try out something, to see if it's interesting enough to make you latch on and want to keep playing. You can make wild decisions with these characters because they're designed to have fun. They do not have to last to the next session. And a glorious death could be what your character really needs to bring them to light. And everyone be like, whoa, the way you just leapt into that room of wolves. Amazing. Don't be too concerned about your character dying. And this is great for people who have low commitment to the game, first-time players, or people who just are time tight and won't have the time to play longer games. A one-shot once a month could be just enough to keep them interested and be able to find the time to play. For game masters, you need to front-load your players a little bit with exactly what's going on towards the plot to help them know what to latch onto in case you say the wrong thing and they go off on a tangent. There isn't a lot of room for tangents in one-shots. You've got to keep them on track. So make sure that the characters are forecasted a little bit with what's going to happen. Maybe give them like the teaser for a movie trailer, or what would be written on the back of the book in terms of getting them going. Forecast how long this one-shot's going to go for. When you know how long individual encounters should roughly go for, and which ones are easily dropped, shortened, or extended, then you can keep the game running. Trust me, if the game finishes at 2 a.m. and it was meant to finish at 10:30, 11, that's your fault. You let time slip. You need to know, cut things out, and to keep the game moving on. What's essential and what will just get by. Now, what you can also do is allow possibly game-breaking items, classes, homebrew, test material into your game because there's no consequences. So what if someone's great sword all of a sudden can now drop buildings if it touches them? Let them have fun with that. There's no flow-on effect to the rest of your games. You can just remove that item. No, that doesn't exist anymore. That was just a fun thing we tried. Understand that these things are also somewhat fairly linear, and there will not be the group's full ability to do whatever they want. Players and GMs should understand that one. And this is great for first-time DMs having a go at it. It's also great for that DM to have a break, allowing another player to take the reins for a little bit and to help avoid burnout of their longer-lasting and other campaigns that GMs might have going. Now, the second type are adventures. More detailed and longer-running games these are. Characters would normally progress a few levels over the course of these games. Some room for character development should be available, and the main story with potential side quests should come up. These are adventure modules, and they're usually, 10 to 50 pages long, and they can be linked, or there could be a number of linked one-shots. I would estimate them to usually go 2 to 12, 15 sessions long and involve anywhere between 10 and 40-ish, maybe 50, that'd be a longer adventure, hours of gameplay. The advantages here are that players now get to develop their characters. Players, you get to develop these things, test them out, see if they're good for longer term play. You get to learn about your class and abilities for both you and other players around the table. And these adventures should also allow you to try out nearly all, if not most, of your abilities. There shouldn't be a reason why you couldn't have tried Speak with Dead at some stage. Give it a go. If you discover you don't like the character you're playing, the advantage is that they only last for a few more weeks and it should be over by then. Maybe you can just start thinking about your next character and learn from what you've done, or change the character a little bit. And another great advantage of these things is you get to level up and become more powerful. You get to see it. It should happen every so many sessions. So you get to power up that character and see them grow. Game Masters. These are great for storytelling and allowing your characters to develop and build some backstory about what everyone's doing here. You can also figure out the types of players that you would want to invite back, as potentially people could be putting on a face for a whole time of the first session, but after a little while you realize this isn't the sort of person I would invite back for my campaign. I'm happy for them to run the adventure, and then when it's done, we will go our separate ways, as not everyone works at the same table. These are also great to stop Game Master DM burnout. If you start becoming tired or not enjoying the game as much, you've only got another week or two before the thing's over. Failing that, with the switching every couple of months of the style of game you're playing, you can bring them together and follow what interests you. If all of a sudden you want to play Spelljammer, and then in a few months you want to run an underwater campaign, and then a new book comes out for Ravenloft, and you can switch every couple of months and run something different. It'll keep you interested. And these are a lot less linear, allowing you to allow time to flow. Characters want to spend 30 minutes talking to a merchant? Yeah, sure. We've got weeks and months of this game. You can spend 30 minutes talking to a merchant. The final one, campaigns. Campaigns are the longest style of game. They usually range a huge lot of levels or character advancements. There are a lot of time to develop characters, experience all the game mechanics, and develop and build great friendships. Whole books are these lengths usually, or even a number of books they can go over. And these can last for months to years of regular gameplay. These are the big bad boys. So what do we get as players? What should we be thinking about if you are a player in a campaign? One I would consider is have a robust character. Do not lock in your character to say that, I hate everything and things like that, I can never change. You will get tired of that, playing it for months, years maybe. So have your character be able to grow. Have a plan for them to grow and change over time. You might become bored of the character, and rather than just binning them and starting a new one, maybe the character develops and changes. Have that built into the base of your character when you're making them, and then that'll leave your gateway for change and development. Be honest with the game group that if you can stick out such a game. I've had players come and join me for campaign long games, and they lasted 2 sessions. They're like, I don't think I can do this. And you're like, oh man, what? Why did you not know we're playing every Friday night? And so be honest to make sure that you can join in such games. Or maybe your character who can only rock up for a period of time, go for a period of time, will work. Does your life facilitate you to be able to take this time to play constantly at the table? If so, you can really flesh out characters. It is really your time to get every aspect of the RPG experience out of this table and everything it has to offer. Campaigns can allow you to explore your full backstory and have others at the table. There's no reason. We've got years to play, months. Why can't we go to your little village nearby and figure out what the problem was between you and Dad, or whatever the case is? For Game Masters, do not run these as your first adventure. My number one tip, I'm watching a number of group discussions and chats, and people are like, hey, I'm going to run Ravenloft as my first adventure. My tip is, don't do that. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to make mistakes. Do you want those mistakes fouling up the first 3 to 6 months of the game? And then you realizing, maybe this is too much for me, maybe I've bitten off more than I can chew? Run a couple of one-shots. Run a short adventure or two. These will allow you, the one-shots will allow you to figure out the mechanics and things like that you don't know or don't understand and didn't realize you didn't know or understand. Oh, geez, I don't know how sorcerers actually work. Then an adventure will allow you to develop a story and practice getting those things. Once you've shaken out the cobwebs and gotten rid of those little niggles on the basic mistakes, it'll allow you to develop and try telling a story. And that should build you up and also give you time to develop your magnum opus of a campaign. Will your characters last the length of a campaign? Does your story allow for people to come and go as characters change, as players change? Will you get burnt out or bored of your own creation? As new adventures in fresh locations, as a new book comes out, and you're like, now I want to play this, but I've committed to running this 5-year-long adventure, and you're just like, I don't want to do it anymore. My attention is somewhere else. And be free to allow players to almost do as they please. You've got heaps of time. If a player wants to go and learn blacksmithery, well, let's go learn blacksmithery. If someone wants to do something else, let's give it a go. If someone wants to explore their backstory, travel down the river on a boat, let's do it. Why not? Let's say yes. Now be wary about the items and things you grant characters, because they may be overpowered now and you've given something in a long-term campaign, something that they're not going to want to give up now, that you should have learnt in your one-shots, that it's too powerful to give to a player. And it's really time for you to bring it all together. So, yeah, long-term campaigns, not something for everyone to run right from the get-go. So, these are 3 categories of games that I'm used to talking about when I'm describing exactly what I'm doing and how I'm playing. They've got pros, they've got cons for each of them. Make sure you've considered that when you're running your games. But do you agree with me? Am I way off? Have I missed something essential that needed to come up? Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you at the table.